Hello everyone, welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I will be teaching you some IELTS reading today. I'm broadcasting to you live from beautiful Budapest, Hungary, Central Europe. As usual, our materials are coming from our websites. For academic IELTS, make sure to check us out at aehelp.com. That's academicenglishhelp.com. And if you are studying for general IELTS for immigration purposes, then check us out at generalieltshelp.com or gieltshelp.com. And you will find lots and lots of lesson videos recorded in high definition, as well as previous live classes that we have recorded, and our 6 full practice exams, a fully interactive course with lots of tips and strategies, practice opportunities for the speaking as well as the writing section with correction and feedback services. And if you haven't done it yet, do go on your Google Play Store, look for our Academic IELTS Help app. With lots of goodies there for you as well. Hello, everybody joining in. Hi, Jawad. Hi, Ahmed. Hi, Nemo. Hi, Edward. Hi, Aisha. There's one of our sponsors. Always nice to see sponsors jumping in early into these classes. Hi, everyone. Again, join our full courses. Lots of help there for you. If you have any questions or concerns, or you want to set up some mock IELTS speaking practice, send me an email. My name, Adrian@aehelp.com. Hi, Marina. Nice to see you in class. I don't think I've seen you in a while. All right, so here is a little bit about the schedule. Again, we're broadcasting according to Central European summertime. Classes are between 15 and 16 o'clock according to CET time. Today we're doing reading practice. We're going to be looking at test number 6, which is in our second book, and we're looking at passage number 2 for all the students who have that. Hi, Jeffrey. I sent you an email earlier today. Please make sure to check that and respond. Hi, Baljit. I got your email as well. All right. And then we will not have class tomorrow and the day after. And then on Wednesday, I'll be back with some writing task 2. Again, sponsors, if you have some recommendations for these sponsored chat only classes on the 26th and 28th, please send me your questions and recommendations so I can schedule that for you. All right, and then that's the rest of our schedule for next week. And then once August starts, I'll have the fresh schedule up for that time. Okay, girls and guys, so just to kick us off right now, I want to start with some reading fluency practice. So my goal here is for you to increase the speed at which you read. So please just read the passage. Do not worry too much about understanding it in detail. Don't worry about the questions for right now. We're just going to read the passage with some of our native UK or British audio that's also available on the website. So this is our Academic IELTS website. It's the blue one. If you're learning General IELTS, check out this one with the green background. For now, I'm going to log in at the top here to our academic site. If you're interested in joining the full course, click any of these big red buttons. If you just want to try it out for free, click that green button. All right. So if the volume is low on your end, please just turn up your speakers or your headphone. I'm using a speaker on my end with my microphone for these live classes, so I've got all of my audio maxed out. So if it's quiet, then just make sure that your audio is turned up on your side. So of course this is going to be coming from our 6th CD, as it's the 6th exam. And it will be reading passage 2. So girls and guys, here we go. Get ready to just read along. And again, don't worry too much about understanding it all. Just follow with the speed of this reader, okay?
Charity, always a positive good? Giving money to charity, whether it's cancer research, humanitarian aid, or something else, is accepted by the vast majority of people as an intrinsic good. Though we sometimes do cast a doubtful eye towards the practice of charity, that is to say, the proportion of donated funds that reach the intended source, the intended effects on the source are almost never doubted. People need help, and charity helps them. This is uncontroversial. Or is it? Some people argue giving to cancer charities does little more than line the pockets of pharmaceutical companies. Meanwhile, others argue that giving to humanitarian aid charities does not improve, but actually worsens the lives of those affected by the charity. The most well-funded cancer research, by far, is for breast cancer. There are innumerable charities associated with raising money for breast cancer research. But unfortunately, almost all of this money goes not towards finding a cure, but finding treatments that extend the patient's life. Because the monies raised by most charities end up in private research companies, these companies have a financial incentive to produce medications which are profitable. Unfortunately, for those among us who are suffering and will suffer from breast cancer and other cancers, finding a cure is simply not profitable. As it turns out, 97% of money that actually contributes to breast cancer research, that is, not counting a charity's operating costs, for example, is spent on treatments that merely extend the patient's life by a matter of weeks. Given that charity overhead is often 50% or more, the math works out like this. For every £100 given towards finding a cure for breast cancer, only £1.50 or 1.5% of that money goes to actually finding a cure for breast cancer. The actual number, depending on a particular charity, may be even less. Should research laboratories really be spending hundreds of millions of pounds on merely extending a sick person's life? Ethically, the answer is no. Instead, they should be spending that money on actually trying to find a cure, so that the sick person does not merely have 2 torturous weeks longer to endure, but decades of vibrant, healthy life ahead of them. Cancer research is one example of the fallibility of giving to charity. Giving to humanitarian aid charities is another. The Western world is showered with television adverts for humanitarian charities. These charities depict countries in Africa and Central America as completely destitute, full of abject poverty, and absolutely helpless without the help of the Western world. This depiction is not only grossly misleading, but also creates a dangerous perception of the Third World as utterly helpless and utterly dependent. This perception leads to the unquestioning acceptance of charities as a positive good, since they are helping what are perceived to be helpless people. But the truth is that people in the Third World are not helpless at all. However, treating them as helpless can, in fact, turn them into helpless people. One of the most famous examples of humanitarian aid gone wrong is the donation of rice to Haiti. It was meant, of course, as a positive good for the Haitian people. There was a food shortage, and the donated rice helped solve the problem. Actions, however, have effects, and sometimes these effects are unforeseen. Before the food shortage, Haitians ate rice on average of 1 time per week. Since the aid started, Haitians now eat rice for almost every meal, every day of the week. Because the rice is free or available for nominally low prices from local vendors, the Haitian people consume it to the exclusion of almost all other foodstuffs. The effect of this is to not only bankrupt the rice farmers of Haiti, of which there were previously many, but also to bankrupt huge swaths of the local food industry. This is because, with free rice flooding the market, people are going to eat the rice and not spend money on other food items, which are much more expensive. This results in local farmers and producers not being able to make money, and thus they go out of business. This has the effect of turning the farmers into the very kind of needy people that the aid was supposed to help in the first place. The act of charity did not reduce poverty in the country. It actually increased it greatly. Breast cancer research and humanitarian aid are just two examples of charities gone wrong. However, the intent of this article is not to dissuade people from giving to charity. Conversely, the intent is to make people think more critically about where their charity monies go. Who is being benefited? Who is being harmed? What are the unforeseen consequences? Thinking critically about charity is the first step in truly helping those in need.
Okay, so that is test 6, passage 2. Just a quick correction there. I told you that that was somebody from the UK, but it's actually somebody from New Zealand. So that was a New Zealand accent that you heard there. And it is good, as I mentioned in a previous class, to be familiar with the New Zealand, Canadian, and Australian accent, as you can hear these in the listening part of IELTS. In IELTS, of course, you don't have audio for the reading, but in our materials, we give this because we feel that it gives a lot of help to students. Now, you might feel that this reader was not reading all that quickly, but in fact, they did read this full passage in under 8 minutes. So if you can read at this speed in the IELTS and understand what you're reading, that's fast enough to get 7 or even higher. Okay, keep that in mind. You don't need to read faster than this in order to get a nice high IELTS band score. All right, so now let's go through this, the correct steps of doing reading in the IELTS. So step number 1, of course, is looking at the title. So here we look at the title and it says charity. Always a positive good? Question mark. Now, what you should do when you read this in IELTS, hopefully you understand the word charity, which means to donate money to some cause. And then, of course, this second part of the title here, always a positive good with a question mark, is questioning whether or not it is a good idea in every situation to be giving money to some charity. So clearly, you should be able to predict from this title that the article will be some form of debate about the efficiency and value of giving donations to certain charities, okay? Always read the title, never skip the title. The title should help you to visualize and understand what you're going to read, okay? All right, girls and guys. So what's the second step? What should you do after you read the title, you visualized, you thought critically about the title? What is this about? Why are we talking about this? How can we talk about this? So we've thought about the title, used that critical thinking. Now what do we do next? Okay, let's see if some of you have an idea of what your second step should be when you're in the reading section. Aisha says very correctly, read some of the questions. Right, so let's do that now together, okay? So this one beforehand does not have a list of headings questions, so there's nothing to worry about there. So we're looking for the questions after the passage. Now, the reason why IELTS puts every question after the passage, aside from list of headings, is because ideally they do think that you should be reading these questions mostly after you read the passage and understand what you have read. Girls and guys, you should not be searching for your answers, okay? If you try to search for all 40 answers in the reading section in the 3 passages, you will run out of time and you will get a low band score. Anybody have an idea of how many of these questions you should be able to answer from understanding the passage without looking at the passage? And I'll throw that question up in our notes here as well, okay? So here is a good question for everyone. In order to get band 6.5 or higher, how much of the passage do you need to understand? Or what percent? Think about it that way. And the second question is, how many of the questions, or what percent, should you be able to answer without searching in the passage? These are two very important questions, okay? So what do you think? Ahmed says, well, you should roughly understand about 70% of the passage if you're aiming to get 6.5 or higher. Telly Mirzayeva says 65, 70%, something like that. Yeah, those are some pretty good insights. I would say that for number one, anywhere between 60 to 70%. It depends on how good your logic and your critical thinking is. If you have really good logic and critical thinking and you have a lot of knowledge from your studies, even 60% could be enough. But roughly, I would say 60 to 70%. So if you understand 60 to 70% of the passages, you should be able to get 6.5 or higher. And the second question, how many of the reading passage questions should you be able to answer without searching in the passage? Yeah, roughly about 50 to 60% at least, okay? So at least half, if not a little bit more, of these questions. Now, these are, of course, just estimates from my end as well, from my experiences, from seeing students, but that should give you a pretty good guideline of what your goals are for these reading passages, okay? So as long as you can do that, as long as you understand 60 to 70%, you should be good. As long as you can answer 50 to 60% of the questions accurately without going back to the passage, you should be good and you will not run out of time. If you cannot do this, just so you know, okay, I don't want you to be living in false hopes and dreams. If you cannot do these two, or achieve these two benchmarks, it is very difficult, if not impossible, to score over 6.5. And even more importantly, that is very frustrating for many students, and you will most likely run out of time. Okay, so not only that, but if you're searching for all the answers, I've said this before, it's going to mush up your brain for the writing section as well, girls and guys. So if you're flipping like a squirrel that just had some Red Bull through the pages of the reading, trying to search for answers, your brain's going to get really jarbled up. And then when you get to the writing section, that demands a lot of critical thinking, good structure, good information, good flow and coherence. It will be very difficult for your brain to produce quality work. So searching, skimming, scanning way too much in the reading section not only hurts your reading score, but it will actually hurt your writing score as well. Keep that in mind when you're studying. Of course, one question some of you might be thinking right now is, well, Adrian, what if I can't understand 70%, or what if I can't answer these questions? Well, then you need to study, okay? You need to do different kinds of exercises that increase your fluency and your comprehension in reading, and you need to learn correct strategies for these questions in the reading so that you can answer at least half of them without looking back. There's a lot of information in these videos that we're streaming each day, and of course tons and tons of help and information on our websites, so do make sure that you check that out. Meanwhile, I'm just looking at some of the comments to see if some of you have some questions. You're asking if I can move the cursor away from the screen. Sure can. There you go. Okay, it's not in the way. Yes, Madalena, you do need to read the full passage, okay? Skimming and scanning, Madalena, basically means that students are searching to match up words, okay? So that's not going to work. You're very welcome, Alex. Good to see you in class. So keep these in mind. Okay, let's jump back to our passage now and have a peek at these questions. So again, remember, there's a couple of important points when looking at these questions. So here we have the first set of questions, questions 14 to 18. It says reading passage 1 has 5 paragraphs, A to E. Which paragraph contains the following information? So this kind of question is known as matching information to paragraph type of question. Should I read this question before I read the passage? Is it a good idea to read the details here before I engage in the actual article? So Sanim says yes. Khaled says yes. Marina says yes as well. And everybody who is in agreement is correct. Again, just a quick reminder, questions that have information which is found in the passage, those are the ones that you should read before the passage, okay? Because they give you additional information and ideas about the passage. So let's read this one together, okay? And for these questions, you can use each letter more than once, which means that some or more than one of these could be coming from the same paragraph, okay? So the false portrayal of people in third world countries, the unseen negative effects of donating food, the unethical nature of some research, charity can increase poverty instead of decreasing it, and finding cures does not earn money for companies. Girls and guys, while I'm reading, please do read with me, okay? So I'm reading for you. I'm reading so you can read with me and copy my, my reading approach. So nice and loud, read with me. Now, with these kinds of questions, you want to paraphrase them at home when you're practicing at home. So write down the paraphrasing above each sentence. So here, the false portrayal. So we could say the incorrect portrayal, depiction of individuals in poor countries. Paraphrasing is very, very important for IELTS, girls and guys, just generally speaking. It helps to build your vocabulary, it helps to build your understanding and your critical thinking. So, individuals in poor countries. Okay? Now, the next one, the unseen negative effects of donating food. We can say what's another way to say unseen? Anybody? Unseen negative effects. Try to paraphrase this one and I'll do this one. The immoral nature of some research, the immoral aspect of experiments. Okay, that would be one. And then let's see if you can see the hidden or invisible or concealed. Those are all great suggestions. Patel, Sevda, Jobber, the invisible detrimental impact of giving food or sustenance for eating. That's a nice paraphrase there as well, Aisha, so good job there, okay? Those are all very, very good, okay? Those will all work. All right, so that's what you want to do for all of them, okay? So here we can say, just having a little bit of a pen issue here. Just give me a moment. So we can say the invisible detrimental impacts of giving food or donating food. Okay, so that's what you want to do for this kind of question, is paraphrase them. It's a very good chance that you might see your paraphrasing word for word in the passage rather than the actual answer. These are all paraphrased. So if you're searching for these, you might have a really hard time finding the information simply for the fact that they're using a lot of synonyms, grammar paraphrasing, expression paraphrasing. So don't expect to find these words in the actual paragraphs themselves or in the correct paragraph. Be really, really careful about that, okay? Now, of course, with this type of question, you definitely need to read the whole passage in order to get a good visual sequencing and understanding of the information, so that you can basically figure out roughly, approximately, where this information is located, and then you can quickly locate the right paragraph. We'll do that in a minute, but let's look at some of the other question types, okay? So here's question 19 to 22. It's a sentence completion type. So here, while charity is considered an intrinsic good by many people, others something its effectiveness. Logic can help you here, and of course, again, looking for some keywords and knowing where to find the word will help you. Should we read this before the passage? Okay. So should I read the question before this, before I read the passage? Yeah, absolutely. So sentence completion type questions, again, are those types that have information which is all in the passage, so it helps your understanding of the passage. So you want to review these beforehand. So let's do that now. Again, read with me nice and loud. While charity is considered an intrinsic good by many people, others something its effectiveness. Companies have to make products that are profitable. 98.5% of money donated to curing breast cancer actually goes towards finding treatments which only something a patient's life but do not cure them. The author argues that the practice of spending money on extending sick people's lives is because they should be finding a cure instead. Okay, now, here's a summary completion type question. Summary completion type questions generally come from one paragraph or just one section of the essay. In most cases, they will give you the words that fit into the spaces. So here you'll have A to H. And the summary is titled Food Aid in Haiti. So we know that it's coming from that long paragraph about the rice donations in Haiti. That's where we will be finding most of our information. And then here, again, clearly you realize that information which is in the passage, no wrong or extra information. So review it nice and fast before reading the passage, okay? So read with me. A well-known example of aid gone wrong is the donation of rice to the Caribbean nation of Haiti. The aid began at a time when Haiti was experiencing a food, so the aid was well received. There were, however, unseen effects of this intervention. Rice became so prevalent that Haitians started eating it. This resulted in many Haitian farmers going, which put even more people in poverty. Who is benefiting by this practice? We must think before giving to charity because often we do not know the consequences of our actions. Don't worry about the responses. You do not need to worry about that, okay? Logic will help you a lot with this question, noticing the words before and after the space, thinking about the context, the grammar form of the word, whether it's a noun or an adjective, an adverb. That will help you a lot with this question as well, okay? So we've reviewed the questions. Now the next step, of course, is to actually read the passage. So this time, girls and guys, I'm going to read the passage with you. Please make sure you're reading with me as well. Focus on the meaning, okay? So focus on the meaning, visualize. This is a fairly visual passage. It's fairly concrete, so you can imagine a lot of this information in your head. For example, being in Haiti during this food crisis and receiving big bags of free rice, and the rice farmers not being able to sell their own rice anymore. So you can visualize this, use your visual prowess to help you get that higher band score, okay? All right, sir, so let's do it. Charity, always a positive good. Giving money to charity, whether it is cancer research, humanitarian aid, or something else, is accepted by the vast majority of people as an intrinsic good. Though we sometimes do cast a doubtful eye towards the practice of charity, that is to say, the proportion of donated funds that reach the intended source, the intended effects on the source are almost never doubted. People need help, and charity helps them. This is uncontroversial, or is it? Some people argue giving to cancer charities does little more than line the pockets of pharmaceutical companies. Meanwhile, others argue that giving to humanitarian aid charities does not improve, but actually worsens the lives of those affected by the charity. Now, when you're practicing at home, we'll just do it for this one paragraph. You should always focus on applying your critical reading. So this is for practice at home. During the IELTS, this should be happening in your head. At home, this should be happening on paper. So let's just see how well you understand this paragraph. The way we can do that is simply by applying those critical questions of what, why, how. So, girls and guys, what is this paragraph about? So what's the topic of this paragraph? What's the best way to summarize the topic of this paragraph? Nargiza, how charities work? I don't think so. I don't think this paragraph goes into too much detail of how a charity actually works. Aisha, two opinions about charities? It's also, I think, kind of off. Sanim keeps it simple, says it's simply just about charities, okay? I think it's a little bit more than just simply charities. Gaurav says the effect of charities, is it positive or good? Yeah, Michael, you're kind of on the same. So my answer would be the absolute utility of charitable donations, okay? So if your answer is similar to mine, then you're on the right track. So that first paragraph is about the absolute utility of charitable donations. So the truth behind the value of giving to charities, okay, would be another way to say that. Why does the paragraph introduce this concept? So why would this paragraph introduce, and it's quite clearly written in the paragraph, why? So why does the paragraph introduce this concept of the absolute utility or usefulness of charities? Can anybody tell me that? The what questions often are fairly simple. Those are the questions and answers, by the way, that give you the list of headings answers. So Jubilant says because of raising charitable donations. Sanim says to save people's lives. Gaurav says it's important to know if our money donated is going to the right place because charitable donations are worldwide. I still don't see the right answer, ladies and gents. There's a more clear answer. If I pop back to the paragraph, let's see if you can find it. It's in here somewhere. There's a very clear answer to that why question. Can anybody see it? Can anybody tell me where it is? Yeah, that's right, Telly. Now you're on the right track. People think charity is always good. Right. Very good, Telly. Yeah, the paragraph says that people generally don't question charities. They think, hey, it's a charity. It's got to be good. Here's my money. No questions asked, right? And it's right here in the beginning somewhere. So people, the vast majority of people think charities are an intrinsic good. So that's why this author believes it's important to, let's talk about this, because it's not necessarily true, okay? So why does the paragraph talk about this idea? Because most people falsely believe that charitable donations are always good. Okay, and then how does the paragraph talk about this? So how does the paragraph debate this, it introduces the idea that this is not so. And gives the prelude of cancer and what's that other one? It's in there as well, of cancer and humanitarian charities. Okay, so ideally, girls and guys, you're doing this practice regularly at home when you're doing your IELTS reading. All right, this is how you increase your comprehension skills. This is how you increase your active reading skills. And your questions and answers should always be getting better and better. And hopefully, if you're doing IELTS classes, they're doing this kind of work with you, okay? It's a good idea to get feedback from your peers, from your fellow students, as well as teachers to see how effectively you're answering these, all right? Saurav, I can't give you listening tips this class because this class focuses on reading, but certainly next week we will have a listening class, so just check us out next week as well, and I'm sure you'll pick up some tips for listening then. All right, so this is, again, the what, why, how. The better your questions, the more accurate your answers, the better your comprehension, the better your IELTS score, all right? I'm not going to do this for every paragraph right now. I just did it for the first one to remind you of its importance and utility. Let's keep reading and visualizing, okay? All right, so read with me, girls and guys. If you have questions, throw them up there. It's a little bit more tricky for me to catch them while I'm reading, but I'll do my best. Okay, here we go with paragraph B. The most well-funded cancer research by far is for breast cancer. There are innumerable charities associated with raising money for breast cancer research, but unfortunately, almost all of this money goes not towards finding a cure, but finding treatments that extend a patient's life. Because the monies raised by most charities end up in private research companies, these companies have a financial incentive to produce medications which are profitable. Unfortunately, for those among us who are suffering and will suffer from breast cancer and other cancers, finding a cure is simply not profitable. As it turns out, 97% of the money that actually contributes to breast cancer research, that is, not counting a charity's operating costs, for example, is spent on treatments that merely extend a patient's life by a matter of weeks. Given that charity overhead is often 50% or more, the math works out like this. For every 100 pounds given towards finding a cure for breast cancer, only £1.50 or 1.5% of that money goes to actually finding a cure for breast cancer. The actual number, depending on the particular charity, may be even less. Should research laboratories really be spending hundreds of millions of pounds on merely extending a sick person's life? Ethically, the answer is no. Instead, they should be spending that money on actually trying to find a cure so that the sick person does not merely have 2 torturous weeks longer to endure, but decades of vibrant, healthy life ahead of them. What is this paragraph about? About charity donations to breast cancer. Why is it talking about that? Because it's a prime example of how charity monies are used inappropriately. How? Well, 97% of the money just goes towards extending a person's life, not actually finding a cure. And a lot of that money is spent on going to the pockets of pharmaceutical companies for profit. So that's the what, why, how. That's how you should do it while you're doing the IELTS. So when you're actually sitting the IELTS exam, ideally you can come up with the what, why, how questions and answers at the same speed that I just did right now, okay? Yeah, so I can see some of your answers coming up there on the board. Jeffrey with money goes to private companies. Saneem, money for breast cancer. So good, you're identifying those what questions. That's great, okay? That's good job. Sarbajik, be more specific. Money for breast cancer charity, okay? All right. So let's keep going here. It does not talk about putting money in the right direction, Ahmed. It doesn't actually speak about that. It speaks more about money going in the wrong direction. Don't confuse it with the opposite idea, okay? Careful to be precise in your critical thinking. Seems simple, but it demands practice. Okay, read with me nice and loud. Cancer research is one example of the fallibility of giving to charity. Giving to humanitarian aid charities is another. The Western world is showered with television adverts for humanitarian charities. These charities depict countries in Africa and Central America as completely destitute, full of abject poverty, and absolutely helpless without the help of the Western world. This depiction is not only grossly misleading, but also creates a dangerous perception of the third world as utterly hopeless and utterly dependent. This perception leads to the unquestioning acceptance of charities as a positive good, since they are helping what are perceived to be helpless people. But the truth is that people in the third world are not helpless at all. However, treating them as helpless can in fact turn them into helpless people. What is this paragraph about? Charity in the form of humanitarian aid. Why? Because there are a lot of misconceptions of the actual utility or importance of this kind of charity. How? Well, the Western world gets lots of ads to show that they need to donate to poorer countries because they're helpless, but in fact, this is what makes some people in those countries helpless. So that's the what, why, how. So far, there's a ticker in my mind, and you want to build this ticker for your IELTS band score, which is paragraph A, introduce the concepts of charities and how they can be incorrectly perceived. Paragraph B talked about breast cancer as an example of the incorrect use of money in charities. Paragraph C introduced the idea of humanitarian charities as another example of misinformation. And then D will be, of course, if we remember the audio, the actual example. Okay, so if I have this logical step 1, step 2, step 3 flow in my mind, you'll see that it'll be much easier to answer those questions after. All right, Jeffrey, that's a right idea for the what. Motivational guru, also on the right track as well. So that's great, okay? Let's continue here, girls and guys, with paragraph D. So one of the most, read with me, okay? Please read with me. Use me to help you improve your reading. So read with me nice and loud. Try to copy my pronunciation. I'm West Coast Canadian, so pronunciation is quite clear. It's a good one to mimic, okay? Easy to understand for most English speakers. Paragraph D, one of the most famous examples of humanitarian aid gone wrong is the donation of rice to Haiti. It was meant, of course, as a positive good for the Haitian people. There was a food shortage, and the donated rice helped solve the problem. Actions, however, have effects, and sometimes these effects are unforeseen. Before the food shortage, Haitians ate rice an average of 1 time per week. Since the aid started, Haitians now eat rice for almost every meal. Visually see this, okay? I ate once a week before, now every day of the week. Because the rice is free or available for nominally low prices from local vendors, the Haitian people consume it to the exclusion of almost all other foodstuffs. The effect of this is to not only bankrupt the rice farmers of Haiti, of which there were previously many, but also to bankrupt huge swaths of the local food industry. This is because with free rice flooding the market, people are going to eat the rice and not spend money on other food items, which are much more expensive. This results in local farmers and producers not being able to make money, and thus they go out of business. This has the effect of turning the farmers into the very kind of needy people that the aid was supposed to help in the first place. The act of charity did not reduce poverty in the country, it actually increased it greatly. What is it about? It's about the rice food charity aid in Haiti. Why? Because it's a perfect example, again, of charity gone wrong. How the free rice has flooded the food market of Haiti, putting local people out of business and actually creating even more needy or helpless people than what was intended. A very ironic situation. Okay, let's finish it off with this brief paragraph E. Breast cancer research and humanitarian aid are just two examples of charities gone wrong. However, the intent of this article is not to dissuade people from giving to charity. Conversely, the intent is to make people think more critically about where their charity monies go. Who is being benefited? Who is being harmed? What are the unforeseen consequences? Thinking critically about charity is the first step in truly helping those in need. What is this paragraph about? It's about the goal of the article. Why? Because it is important to donate to charities, but it's very important to donate in the right way. How? Using critical thinking and investigating where the donations are going and how they're being used. That's what that paragraph is about. Hi, Manisha. Good to see you in class. And yes, you have a right idea there for the concept of the paragraph, which is the right motives behind charity. Okay? Aisha, to raise the awareness of how people donate. Absolutely. Okay? The correct goal of charitable donations. Motivational guru. All right, so again, keeping that sequence in my mind, what paragraph A, B, C, D, E are about, now I'm confident that I can answer the questions at hand. Let's check it out. So again, here, our goal, match the sentence with the right paragraph. So let's start with number 14, the false portrayal of people in the third world. Let's see how many of these we can get without even going back to the reading. I'm pretty confident I can get most of these. Let's see if you can too. So Khaled says, hey, it's C. Aisha says, yeah, it's going to be C. Mohammed says C. Yeah, absolutely. Remember that lexical sequence in your mind about what's going on. So paragraph B was about breast cancer. Paragraph C introduced the false portrayal of all these hungry, starving people in the third world that cannot survive without the help of the West. So definitely I agree with you. C is the right answer. Okay, so I'm going to go with C on that as well. And I'm glad most of you are following along nicely. Okay, the unethical nature of some research. Okay, this one should be pretty clear as well. Think about which paragraph speaks mostly about research, what type of research it is, and then you should be able to get it. Okay, it's morally wrong. This paragraph emphasizes that this research is wrong. Oh, sorry. Yeah, thank you for that. Who just told me that? Khaled and Nargiza did as well. Yeah, sorry. So C, be very careful not to do that in the IELTS, okay? That one there is B, as most of you got it. Okay, the unseen negative effects of donating food. I think, Jeffrey, that's the one you were answering before, so we'll jump back there to number 15. Thank you again for helping me out there. Yeah, that's D, right? It's that big, long paragraph that's talking about rice, so the donation of rice in Haiti. So C, D, B. Charity can increase poverty instead of decreasing it. Is that talking about cancer research? No, right? So it has to be talking about humanitarian aid. Humanitarian aid is only seen in paragraph C and D, so it has to be one of those. Motivational guru, I just moved the answers around to be correct. It's C, D, B, okay? Because I missed 15, as some students caught it there. Okay, so number 17, charity can increase poverty instead of decreasing it. Which paragraph talks more about that, C or D? Both of them do. So this is one where I might go back and check. Now, if I have to check this one, if I have to check 17, it's okay because I've already done 3. So I'm still at that 50 to 60% of answering those questions. Now, what am I going to do? I'm not going to read all of paragraph D because that's very long. Notice how C is a little bit shorter. So I'm going to see if C emphasizes that information first. If it doesn't, then I'm confident in my answer D. So cancer research is, okay, the Western world is showered with, these charities depict countries in Africa. Okay. So abject poverty, this depiction is okay, but it's dangerous. The perception leads to unquestioning acceptance. But the truth is that people in the third world are not helpless at all. However, treating them as helpless can in fact turn them into helpless people. I have to be careful. I think that's pretty good right there as well. But the truth is that people in the third world are not helpless. Treating them as helpless can make them helpless. Helpless can be seen as poverty. So it could be C. Now, D also says that some people became bankrupt. I remember that. And bankrupt is definitely connected with money. So, you know what? Let's go with D. If it's C, it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to spend too much time on any one question. Let's go to number 18. Finding cures does not earn money for companies. This one should be fairly good, okay? Fairly easy. So which paragraph talks about finding cures does not earn money for companies? That's definitely related to breast cancer, which is paragraph B. So C, D, B, D, and B, okay? Looks pretty good. If I can get at least 4 out of 5 on that, I'm happy. We'll check the answer key at the end, okay? Now, when you do have this, so one note here, we've given C, D, B, D, B as the answers. So notice that we didn't use paragraph A or E, okay? That could be a little bit dangerous. That should be a warning that, hey, wait a second, really none of these is actually coming from A and E. If you have time at the end of the reading, if you have a couple minutes remaining, you might want to come back and check if you didn't miss some key information from A or E, okay? But only if you have extra time. Otherwise, believe in your answers and stick with them. Okay, it's just a caution if you're not using 2 paragraphs, okay? All right, so let's have a look at this sentence completion. So choose no more than 2 words. Really pay attention to the instructions. That means that probably 1 or 2 of these will be a 2-word answer. And then here we have to complete these sentences. So while charity is considered an intrinsic good by many people, others something its effectiveness. Which paragraph is that coming from? Girls and guys, which paragraph is 19 coming from? Aisha, doubt is a good word, and it's coming from paragraph A. So if I know it's doubt, I can be confident with it. Don't go back and check. You might want to note on your paper that it's coming from A in case you need to check, okay? But go to the next one. Only go back and check if you're not sure. If you're not sure, now you know, hey, that's coming from A. I can find that pretty quick. Okay, so here we go. Number 20. Companies have something to make products that are profitable. What do you think is a word that will fit in there, or words that make in there, that will fit in there, okay? And where is it coming from? So Jubilant James says it's financial incentives. Okay. I believe you're right. I believe the answer is financial incentives. I remember reading that. It's very shocking, and it's coming from paragraph B. That's right. So if you had to check, again, you can look there. So if you can't come up with these 2 words, Jubilant James, I know your English is quite strong, so you're able to follow with it quite well. But let's say I don't know this. Then what I do is, okay, I remember it comes from paragraph B, and I can look for words like companies and profit, okay? So if I go back to paragraph B, then here, if I'm searching, look, right away I caught that word profitable. So here, and there's the word companies. Okay, let me move that so it's a little bit out of the question set there. Here, I'll move it down. Okay, so I caught the word profitable there, and I've caught the word companies, and there is my answer, financial incentive. Okay. So financial incentive, if you write incentives, they most likely will give it to you since it does make sense in context. But if you go back and check and see that it's not a plural, you might want to just erase that S and keep it as financial incentive. And then, of course, you can double check your spelling to make sure you're not losing the mark for spelling purposes. Okay? So note something here, girls and guys, ladies and gents, that I'm not skimming and scanning for answers. There's a big difference between skimming and scanning for answers and knowing where you're looking, okay? For these, I'm not merely saying skim and scan for your answers, but actually look for them in the correct location based on your comprehension, based on knowing that the information comes from paragraph B and knowing what you're actually looking for, okay? All right. 98.5% of money donated to curing breast cancer actually goes towards finding treatments which only something a patient's life but do not cure them. And here, from context and remembering what we read, you should know it's extend. Okay, we know that it's coming from paragraph B, absolutely. Okay, if I have to look for this, not search, okay, but if I have to look for this, I can look at this number 98.5. Now I remember that I didn't read that, but I did read that 1.5% of, right? So that is equal to 100% minus the 98.5. So my logic here tells me that if I have to check this answer, all I need to do is go back to paragraph B and look for that 1.5% number, which is here, okay? And then looking at the sentence before and after, I can figure out that the answer is here, on extending a sick person's life, okay? So here I can go back and be confident in my answer, which extends a person's life. Make sure you have the correct word form. The S is important there. Okay, let me move the screen up a little bit, get rid of all of this. I hope you're kind of getting an idea of how to approach this type of question effectively. Now, some of you are probably thinking, hey, Adrian, it's taking you forever. It's with an S, Aisha. It's taking you forever to do this. There's no way I have this kind of time in IELTS. You're right, but you're not teaching in IELTS. You're a candidate and you're doing the exam. And if you're not teaching like what I'm doing here, then believe me that you can do this much, 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 much faster, okay? So what's taking me minutes to show you would actually only just take me seconds in the actual IELTS exam, okay? I have done the IELTS, and with the strategies that I'm showing you, I can complete the entire IELTS reading section in under 40 minutes and get all the questions correct. So that just gives you an idea, or get all the answers correct. So that just gives you an idea of how effective you can be. Now, you don't have to do it in 30, 40 minutes. You have a whole hour, okay? All right, and you don't need to get 9 necessarily. It's enough if you get 7, 7.5 for most of your goals, okay? With the exception of a few. Number 22, the author argues that the practice of spending money on extending sick people's lives is because they should be finding a cure instead. There's a very quote-unquote simple word that fits in context here. If you know the word, you will figure it out very quickly. Not ethical, Jubilant James, is okay. Yep, they'll take that. Not ethical. Sure. 2 words, it's fine. Or you could say what Aisha's saying, unethical, or if you want to go right out of the text, you could say morally wrong. They most likely will take all of those words. Morally wrong, Not ethical, unethical is all correct. Okay? If it's a perfect synonym, in most cases, IELTS will give you the point for that. If I want, I can go back to that paragraph B and see if there's anything there that gives me that piece of information. Okay? Ethically, the answer is no. Okay? It's unethical or morally wrong. Yeah, absolutely. Taking it out from the last bit here. I don't see anything else, so I'm not going to worry about it. I have morally wrong. It works. Okay? All right, let's go to the last set of questions, which is the summary completion. Food in Haiti. This question should go quite smoothly because you have the choices here in the bottom. Let me see if I can make this a little bit smaller. Okay, so you can see all of them. There we go. All right, so we have choices A to H. Don't look at the choices. Try to figure it out on your own first and then see if the choice matches, okay? So for summary completion, it's kind of like multiple choice. Don't depend on the answers. Depend on your brain, first of all, and then search or look at the answer choices to see if there's something matching. A well-known example of aid gone wrong is the donation of rice to the Caribbean nation of Haiti. The aid began at a time when Haiti was experiencing a food what? Shortage, right? Not enough food. Short, small, little amount. Shortage, meaning not enough. Make sure you don't write the word, write the letter, okay? You need to write the letter in your answer key, not the word. If you write the word, they probably will mark it wrong, which is so sad because even though it's a correct answer, it's not the correct format. So do pay attention to format. Do pay attention to question instructions. It says A to H below. Write the correct letter A to H in boxes 23 to 26 on your answer sheet. Okay? Make sure you're not writing words. I've seen students do that. So the aid was well received. There were, however, unseen effects of this intervention. Rice became so prevalent that Haitians started eating it. Now, hopefully you visualized it. They started eating it every day, 24/7, right? Every day is G, daily. Okay, good. This resulted in many Haitian farmers going what? Poor farmers, nobody was buying their rice. Couldn't pay the bills. They ended up going, what happens when you don't have money? You go bankrupt. That's right, Gaurav. Yeah. So bankrupt is A. I'm purposefully standing in front of this while I'm asking you because I don't want you to search for the answers. I want you to think about it, which put even more people in poverty. Now, girls and guys, be critical, not just during your reading, but also during your answering, okay? There's something interesting that you should notice with this part of this question. So Haitian farmers going bankrupt, which put even more people into poverty. Why am I stopping here? What do you think I'm doing right now? Why did I just stop here? Let's see if some of you critical, clever thinkers out there are thinking what I'm thinking. Why am I stopping with this answer A? What did I just realize? Can anybody guess what's inside my head? Yeah, Jubilant James says, well, hey, guys, we were stuck in one of the questions earlier, whether it was coming from paragraph D or C, right? And you're right, Jubilant James, absolutely. So if I go back to one of the previous questions, which is here, okay, notice this one, number 17. Charity can increase poverty instead of decreasing it, right? And I wasn't sure about my answer if that's coming from paragraph C or D. Now, from my answer here, where it says that farmers went out of business, which put even more people into poverty, that gives me confidence in answer 17. So I have never given you this piece of information before in the previous classes. There's always something new, but keep this in mind because I have seen this numerous times in various different IELTS exams, past papers as well, that have come up in previous tests. So keep this in mind, okay? I'm going to make a note for you here. So this is an important tip or strategy. Don't just use the passage to help you solve answers, but use the questions. So cross-reference them, okay? Cross-reference questions in reading, as this can often help you give correct answers and gain confidence in the accuracy of your answers. Okay, keep that in mind. It's a good little tidbit to remember while you're writing the test. All right? All right, so a couple more left, or one more left. Who is benefited by this practice? We must think something before giving to charity because often we do not know the consequences of our actions. So the very last one, number 26, Jubilant James, Gaurav Sharma. You are absolutely right. Everybody who's answering H is correct. We have to think critically, okay? We have to think critically before we give to charities. Girls and guys, truth of the matter is you have to think critically in every important decision in life because critical thinking will guarantee your success above all. And you don't just need to think critically when giving to charities, but you also need to think critically when looking for IELTS success and those high band scores. IELTS is not just a test of English, it is also a test of critical thinking and communication. Keep that in mind. Okay, let's look at the answer key here, see how we did. We'll quickly pop to the end of our book. This is book number 2, again, our academic book from aehelp.com. So we are going from question number 14, I believe. And let's have a look. Okay, let's have a look at these answers. Just give me a second here. Okay. So 14 is C, D, B, D, B. Okay, so we did a pretty good job there. I think maybe from 15. Anyway, from 14. So C, D, B, D, B. Yeah, A and E did not come up. So notice how A and E were not used in that question set. So nothing from paragraph A, nothing from E. So it's good that I didn't waste time trying to see if I've gone crazy and it's just me that's thinking that there's nothing there. Okay, that's why I said only check that if you have a minute left over. All right, number 19 is doubt. Good job there, everyone. Financial incentives, or financial incentive for number 20. And then for 21, extend. Number 22 is unethical, right? So morally wrong, you'll probably get it right. It's a perfect synonym for unethical, and it's 2 words. They'll take 2 words. 23, B, G, A, and H for 26. So quite a good job, even if, let's say, IELTS is being very strict and they say, hey, it's not morally wrong, it's just unethical. You still got basically 12 out of 13 or 13 out of 14 questions right, which is excellent, okay? You do not need to worry about that. You still have a chance to get a 9 or definitely an 8.5, all right? So unethical is the best answer. They will probably take morally wrong. Extends is the correct one in context. So I think, Alex, you're asking me about this one. It's probably a typo in our answer key, but I think extend might work as well there. So extends, because it's a patient's life, so it should be with an S. I can double check that for you, Alex, just so we don't have confusion there. Let me jump back to that part question real quick. Okay, so girls and guys, I'm just checking one question here for one of our students, Alex, who says, hey, is it extend or is it extends? Which one works better here? So here it's the answer is extend, and it's extends because this is a patient, it's singular, so the verb has to take that S in the singular form. So it is a typo in the answer key rather than us being incorrect. So it should be extends rather than extend. Thank you for that confirmation, Alex. Okay, girls and guys, that's it for today's class, for this reading session. Again, no class tomorrow or the day after. I'll be back with a task 2 on Wednesday. I hope that all of you took away some valuable information from this lesson. I really hope that you will apply critical analysis to your reading at home with these what, why, how questions, okay? Thank you, Alex. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for all your wonderful comments and questions and answers. You're all doing a great job. Again, you all have beautiful minds, the supercomputers of the universe up there. So have a wonderful rest of your day. Have a great Monday and Tuesday. Keep up the good work. I'll see you on Wednesday. Much love. Bye for now.